Hi guys. What we're going to do today on this video is kind of review the annual recommitment to the safety team. This is going to be the third recommitment that we've had. So it means we're going about 4 years. Um, it's been an unusual year, and it's kind of hard to get everything together that we wanted to do in the way we wanted to do it, but we're going to keep on going forward, okay? So what we're going to do is review the guidelines, and sometime in the near future we're going to sign the recommitments, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is purpose statement. And I'm going to read it and then post the words. To provide a safe and secure environment for the children and adult members of Moberly First Assembly of God and the guests and visitors, to ensure that their experience is one that can focus on their spiritual growth and worship time. To be as wise as serpents and gentle as doves. As people enter and exit our church facility for worship, it is our objective to ensure a disturbance and violence-free atmosphere for the people attending Moberly First AG. If a disturbance does arise, our goal will be to calm that disturbance as quietly and quickly as possible in order to preserve the safety and unity of services or activities at Moberly First AG. I want to always remember, we are not a police force, we are not a paramilitary group, we're a safety team, and we want to keep a good, safe environment for everybody that comes. Responsibility. It shall be the responsibility of all Moberly First AG Church safety team members authorized by the Moberly First AG Church to carry firearms and non-lethal control devices to follow and adhere to this policy and to all applicable local, state, and federal laws. It shall be policy that the carrying and use of non-lethal control devices, defense weapons, and or firearms shall be authorized only to those persons identified by the safety team coordinator or senior pastor and approved by the Moberly First AG Church Board. We're going to remember that. Don't be bringing in a bunch of stuff that you haven't been trained in, okay? We're eventually going to get to a lot of stuff that we haven't done yet, like batons and stuff, but don't, and handcuffs, but you have to have approval from me, the pastor, and the church board to carry anything or use anything, okay? Please don't get away from that. If we get away from these guidelines and use of force policy, if something bad happens and we go to court, you're going to be on your own, okay? I can't overemphasize that. It shall be policy that carrying, okay, all right, number 5, those safety team members who are authorized to carry firearms or other non-lethal control devices shall have had training approved by the Moberly First AG Church Board. All this is approved by myself, the pastor, and the church board. So it goes along. We have church board members on the safety team for that reason. They are part of what we do. Okay, let's talk about use of force. Reasonable force is what we're looking for. You cannot apply any more force than necessary to stop the threat. I'm sure right now everybody is familiar with what happened in Minneapolis and the death of a guy, and that's what's going to happen if you use too much force. It's your personal life, that's for the safety team. You can't just go beat the snot out of somebody and or just shoot them just because you want to shoot them, or you have to have believe that your life, you are in fear of your life or somebody else's, okay? Justifiable, that's what the term we're looking for. But it is important to understand that each response must be justifiable, not just the first one. If you hit, shoot, or any other response more than once, you must be able to justify why you did it. Being a threat is not good enough. Response must be reasonable and only to the level to stop the threat. Okay? You cannot justify shooting somebody. If you have a 17-round magazine, you can't shoot them 17 times. Okay, if you shoot them. And you're going to have to justify every shot that you make. Okay? And they're going to ask you that in court. I have done plenty of research on this. I read plenty of court documents and people that recorded it, and they will ask you why you did that. Okay. Let's talk about the different levels of force. Low level of force. Level 1. A low level of force is that force which has a low visual impact, has no reasonable expectation of serious injury, and is designed to gain compliant behavior. Some force options reasonably considered within this low level of force include uniform or command presence, verbal commands, a firm grip of gestures, or pepper spray. Kind of unusual that I think a pepper spray is in low level, but I guess it depends on the situation. All right, intermediate level. Level 2. An intermediate level of force is that force which has a high visual impact, involves some pain and compliance, has a reasonable probability of injury, has no reasonable expectations of great bodily injury or death, and is designed to gain control and or overcome an actively resistant individual. Some force options reasonably considered within the intermediate level of force include physical control holds, offensive and defensive techniques such as use of hands and or feet, and the use of impact weapons. Intentional head strike with any impact weapon is prohibited unless the use of deadly force is necessary and based on circumstances. Okay? And just because somebody takes a swing at you first does not justify going excessive. I used to work with a guy that was a brown belt in karate, and some guy took a swing at him, punched him in the face, and he proceeded to get him down on the ground and beat the tar out of him. Now, he almost did jail time on that. So I'm going to forewarn you. When I've taught you all self-defense, I told you pain is a great influencer, okay? But you got to know when to stop. You got to learn to look at their face and everything else. Just like that police officer, that guy on the ground, that was way excessive. I don't care what he had did. Okay. High level of force. A great or high level of force is that force which is likely to produce a reasonable expectation of great bodily injury or death. The use of firearms is usually considered at this level of force. Okay, I'm going to put something out there, and we talked about, justifiable. Okay, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, we've gone over things about like when we dry fired and practice saying things like stop or I'll shoot. You have to give people every opportunity. Okay? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. A safety team member may use deadly force only when it appears reasonable and necessary to save themselves and or others from death or great bodily injury. Extreme example, you're working the parking lot and you see somebody breaking into somebody's car. Okay? And even if they have a gun on their hip, it doesn't make a difference. You cannot just walk up and shoot them. Right? You're going to have to, number one, find out what's going on. And number two, you got to assess the situation. And the bad thing is, us, just like police officers, law enforcement, we're behind the 8 ball already. They have got to make the first move. A safety team member shall not shoot at a person who is called upon to halt upon mere suspicion and who simply runs to avoid apprehension. You see somebody run away from the church, you just can't shoot him. It might be Eddie Warren or Danny Owens. I mean, seriously, just because somebody's running, that other black man, I can't remember his name right now, that got killed. He was out jogging, and some white guys just shot him. That's not right. You just don't do that. Okay? Safety team members shall not engage in dry firing, trigger pull practice, quick or cocking of the weapon in any public place except as part of an approved training program at an approved location as directed by an instructor, supervisor, or range master. We do dry fire at church. We do it as a group. We do it safely. We make sure everything is unloaded. There is no show and tell in the church. Okay? You get a new gun, new magazine, new holster, whatever. Just don't go around showing people. And, think about our statement of purpose. And while we're doing this, to give a pleasant, safe environment for everybody to be there. And if we're going around showing guns and talking about shooting people and stuff, you're not going to make people feel comfortable. Okay? It's about them. I always said that the safety team is the most important ministry in the church, simply because it's the least most important ministry in the church. Our only reason for existence is everybody else. It's not about us. We're not a good boy social club that's superior above everybody else. This is a position of humility. Always remember that. The firearms which may be carried and used by Mobley First AG Church safety team members will be standard factory firearm as approved by the safety team coordinator or lead pastor. So don't just be going buying something because you want to buy it. Don't be tricking out your gun. Don't be putting special triggers on it or whatever. Come to us, talk to us, see if it's okay. And if there's any question, I'll put it before the board and we'll talk about it and vote on it. Ammunition shall be factory ammunition only at all times. Okay? Simply because if you go to court, you can't prove what kind of load you have in a reload. Okay? How hot it is or whatever. That's why every firearm, every ammunition that you use, factory ammo, it can be verified on what's the pressure content of it. And no plus P ammunition. Safety team members authorized to carry firearms are required to shoot a course of fire and obtain a qualifying score at a location approved by the safety team coordinator or lead pastor at least annually. I guess we could do it more often or not, couldn't we? Yeah. I know Saddleback Church out in California, they re-qualify quarterly. Yeah. So, whatever comes down the pipe is going to influence how we're going to do this stuff. We're getting ready for it'll be our third qualification with Sheriff Nichols. Okay, I think that's a very special opportunity that we have, and it will protect us. Yeah, we could do, like the first time we did qualification, we just let everybody do their own qualification, shoot their own target, and brought it in, because we had to get going. But from here on out, we want to make sure everybody's covered and everybody's safe, okay? You go to court, and you have a certificate that says Sheriff Nichols' signature on it, that's a whole heck of a lot better. This is only a review. It is a responsibility of each safety team member to familiarize themselves with all the guidelines and use of force policy. As a reminder, I have a copy of the guidelines and use of force policy in a text document on our Facebook page. You need to know what it says. Old saying, ignorance is no excuse. You have to know what's going on. So, anyway, if you have any questions, please be asked. Ask me, run into me. Don't run into me, not the car or nothing. But just ask me. So, and we'll see where you are, okay? And I want to close by saying, you all have been very committed for the last few years. I'm not necessarily anticipating any of it changing, okay? But it's okay not to be part of the safety team, Okay? So I'm giving you permission to quit if you want to. I don't want you to quit, but I want you to know that nobody's going to badmouth you or treat you bad because you do. Okay? Anyway, I look forward to the next year with you guys. And bye.